What's up, everybody? Welcome to two Dynamite Dudes with Attitude. That's
How many?
two.
Marcus,
Hate it.
please.
Hate this part of the podcast.
You gotta be a little motivated.
It adds nothing to the podcast. Actually, detracts.
How many, Marcus? How many?
Two of them. Two Dynamite Dudes. Ugh. I'm the host this week. I shouldn't have to do this. But in any case, I am Marcus D'Angelo, and I'm joined by my slapdick brother, Dominic D'Angelo. Dominic, whiskey and water, huh? Yes. You're a whiskey girl.
Oh, I am a whiskey gal. You can, if you want to pick me up at a bar when COVID is over, you just come on over and be like, "Hey, Missy, I got you a little something." And it could be range from Jim Beam to bottom shelf, like melt the paint off the walls kind of whiskey.
Whoever is buying you alcohol is 100% getting you just the cheapest house whiskey on the face of the planet, Dominic.
I am not a picky individual, so if you want to woo me, just bottom shelf is just fine.
Why
don't you show the audience what you're drinking today?
This is going off the rails already. But I've got some land shark today, and my cats are really acting up right now. Hang on a sec.
It's very odd. I gotta go. Dusty is just laying here.
I gotta go get this situation under control. I'm gonna have to cut this.
Is it Mon or Luna? Mon or Luna? I'm wagering Mon. Maybe it's both of them. Marcus just giving me more work to do. I don't like it. I might leave this in because I don't want to edit. I don't want to edit.
It was both of them. I apologize. But all right, in any case, so Dominic, that just enraged me, but something that didn't enrage me so much as upset me about Dynamite this week. How's that for a transition?
Nah, it's all right. Not bad.
It wasn't my best work.
I wanted to rip on you about Landshark a little bit more, but that's okay.
Well, that was all part of the setup, Dom. I knew you were gonna give me shit about Landshark, so
more Jimmy Buffett than anything else.
But so I'll tell you what, man. That main event sucked. That was a suck fest of a main event.
Nah, yep. I wasn't. Nah, no, I didn't think so.
No.
I didn't think so. Why? Okay. Why, Marcus?
Well, the entire concept is flawed. I'm guessing it's like to eventually, create a division between the, probably most especially Santana and Ortiz. They are the tag team of the Inner Circle.
Right.
And now I think they were just essentially told that they can't compete for the tag team championship or something like that.
Well, they aren't the tag team of Inner Circle. So, yeah, pretty much it's going to be
you just took a big dump on your tag team there. So I'm hoping they go babyface. I'm hoping that's the reason for all of this.
Yeah, that's
but the point I'm trying to make is the whole thing to me was flawed, the entire match, because it was set up the same way as like the triangle match from World War III, 1996, between the Outsiders, the Faces of Fear, and the Nasty Boys, where it's like you've got three different teams, but then like people from other teams, there's only two competitors in the ring at one time.
I didn't like that.
It's stupid. And that's how they did it there. And so I remember at one point, Hall and Nash both got in the ring, and everybody went to the outside like, okay, now you two fight. And Nash just like laid down and let Hall pin him. Which is hilarious because of course those two think of it in that way.
Yeah.
Because I don't think most other people would have thought of it, but those two are just like, if you're gonna let us win, then we'll just win.
Is that how they finished the match?
No, they came in and broke it up, but it was just a hilarious spot. So like, leave it to Hall and Nash to look at things outside the box like that. I could go on and on about those two, but in any case, I thought that the entire concept was flawed right out of the gate. Jericho he didn't just lose his step, dude. He's lost multiple steps. He did not look good.
Are you just focusing on the lion salt, which kind of
no? I'm also focusing on how he sold and how quickly he was getting blown up. So yeah, I think he's been having a rough time. I'm telling you, man, and I'm not gonna bang the drum on like Jericho is fat like a lot of people do. I will say though, if he shook a few pounds, he'd be okay in the ring. Like I think that he'd be lighter, he'd be more mobile. So it's honestly, if he wants to continue performing, he really needs to think about shaking off a couple LBs.
Well, you know what? I think too, Just maybe adjusting his style a little bit, like according to like, you know, his age in a lot of ways. Like still do the stuff, like he can still do the lion salt. That wasn't his fault when it came to the lion salt. Like I think a couple of guys were in his way when he was trying to do it, and it made him like readjust his steps and kind of screwed him up in that regard. So you know, but like if you adjust your style and just hit your highlights that you're capable of hitting, I mean, it's totally fine, because you know what? It's like people are paying to see Chris Jericho. They're not paying to see, you know, Chris Jericho and all his move arsenal that he can do, you know? So,
and let me say, for a man who's 50 years old, I believe now he's 50. Like he looks better than any 50-year-old
right.
anywhere.
People trash the heck out of him for like his physique. And yeah, sure. I mean, like if you're wrestling, it's a visual business. And today's standards, Vince McMahon has set those standards to, you got to look like an action figure essentially. And if you don't, there's something wrong or something out of place. So, I mean, to put, I mean, but like, you know, obviously you do want to make those adjustments and try to feel it out. It's like, there's a certain balance to that. I'm with you. I'm very much with you on the setup of how the tag match. I hate that shit. Like if you're going to do a 3-way tag match, have 3 men in the ring representing each team. Like do it that way. If you're going to do it, not like that, because none of that always makes sense. It's always just, it doesn't, from a logistics standpoint, no, it doesn't make sense at all.
The other issue with it is that I didn't know who was the legal man most of the
I don't think a lot of anybody did, whether it was Jericho, JR or like Excalibur or anybody. It's like hard to keep track. It's very, and the referees.
And there are so many of these matches now. So that's 2 matches at least on this card. Off the top of my head, 2 matches on this card that are like these big schmoz tag team matches. Like JR has got to be hammering the Moscow Mules after this just so he can like relax himself following that situation. I'm telling, I have another land shark here on the ground, Dom. I'm gonna have a couple.
I got a beer ready here, so we're gonna be buckle up.
It was, dude, it was rough. It was not good. Jericho looked, and at one point, like the way he sold, I'm like, dude, the old Jericho with a flat back bump there. He did like this weird twirl down to his knee or something like that, and I'm just like, it's like you said, he could adjust his style, or like I'm 100% certain that if he just lost some weight, he would be doing fine. So it's, I don't know, some adjustment has to be made. Evidently, you know, they think that the adjustment needs to be that you just stick him in a tag team so he can stand on the apron for the most part, which is a reasonable thought given the age of Jericho. But I don't know, man. It's such a weird juxtaposition from where he is now and where he was like a year ago, where it's like
it's
he was the
like your veteran quarterback. Like you see a Brett Favre where he was like really hot for the Vikings one year, and then boom, he just Jericho is not nosediving by any means whatsoever, but you see that kind of transition of like, whoa, like that's different. Like you can tell there's something, you know, age is catching up or something, and you know, anything to that aspect is like, you know, it kind of, it's like a veteran quarterback that's like, you know, man, hot, like what Pro Bowl one year, and then like you see a little bit of a decline the next year. It's like I can kind of see that. It could be.
He was the hottest heel in the business 1 year ago at this time.
Let's say this, that we might not be ruling out the idea too that, you know, he's not wrestling as often maybe as he was a year ago or so either. If you think about it, like you think when AEW first started off, Jericho was also dabbling in New Japan and still doing things like that. And relatively like, you know, and I think the aspect of maybe like traveling might be something different too, where it's like you're not in a stationary position, so it's like you're just awake and you're doing more things, or maybe it's just adjusting his whole kind of I guess, lack of a better word, lifestyle in a lot of ways. So a lot of aspects that we don't know about. And heck, maybe he's hurt. That could be something we also don't know. Is like he could be hurt, and like there could be certain aspects that he's not working out or doing certain things, or, you know, that's the thing. It's pandemic has really screwed up wrestling in many aspects. Like it's screwed up everything, life. So I don't know, man. Like from I'm okay with what the story played out as. Now, I will say this though, that I think the more intriguing tag teams, like established tag teams, would either be Sammy Hager, or Santana and Ortiz. Like I thought,
And
I
yeah,
thought.
Santana and Ortiz were the standouts for me in this match.
Well, what about Sammy Guevara? Man, I don't know, man. I think he was really.
I want Sammy as a singles.
Yeah, but from a work perspective in this match, I was like, Sammy was, I think, above everybody.
He was great, but like Ortiz specifically, I really dig his new look. I think that he looks great. I mean, and he seems like he's taking things a little bit more seriously. Santana had a couple like very visually obvious misses when he had like a missed drop kick that he missed by like a foot, and Jake Hager had to sell it. And then he did like a kick to the face of Sammy Guevara, and you could just see it miss by like a solid 3 inches there. And then Sammy had to sell that, and I was like, ugh, rough to watch. But I still do see like the proud and powerful. I see them as a babyface tag team.
I think ultimately that's where it's going to go. And, I think, what the AEW wants you to see and feel is that why aren't we getting Santana and Ortiz as the tag team? Like that's part of the story is like, obviously they are the tag team of Inner Circle. So when they lose in this match and they're not, that's obviously going to create some sort of rift. And I don't know, it creates an intriguing aspect that can be told later. And I think this was a cool lane to put Jake Hager into, is like teaming up with Sammy. You got the big man and the little man together, and like they have a good chemistry together. So I think ultimately you can say what you want from a work rate perspective or a work aspect of it. I like so many times you're more critical of that stuff because I'm not watching like dead on, but I think from a storytelling perspective, I thought it was as well done overall.
Yeah, I suppose that there's some story there, especially if they move in the direction that we hope that they're moving in. But if this was just like a one-off, like, oh well, the Inner Circle forges on, but here's their new tag team, it's like, well, okay, what are we doing with Santana and Ortiz? I don't know, like I feel like I use this word every time we record, but like directionless feels appropriate.
No, I'm not with you on that one. I think they got a direction for this one.
I hope so. You can't trust it. And so let's get into the next segment I want to talk about, which is Negative One's birthday, which was a really cool celebration. I think they gave him the kind of match that he wanted to see. So I'm not going to critique the match itself, but just in general, I'm blown away by the kindness of Tony Khan, the kindness of all the AEW staff and personnel. It's a cool thing to see.
You know what? Like, and people like would go at it from an aspect of like, that's a turn off. If you're to tune into that match, it's going to look like quote unquote amateur or something that like, or, if you're a casual fan, but how I look at that is that it's like they're putting humanity above getting ratings. Like, and I'm totally fine with that. Like, and I think a lot of people should be in that regard too, because, it's showing you what kind of company and mentality and family aspect that AEW has for one another. And
Tony Khan is already a billionaire. He doesn't he's purely doing this for entertainment and for fulfillment at this point. He's achieved everything he needs to achieve from a monetary standpoint. So I think like in a nutshell, this whole thing is just him saying like, hey, I'm not a corporation. Like I don't operate like some big every employee is just a wheel or a cog in the machine.
In the system, yeah.
Like this, you people are important to me. Your families are important to me. And so I think that him saying that and making something like that happen, unbelievable. Speaks volumes about him as a person, and speaks volumes like I said about all the staff and personnel with AEW. It's just good-hearted people. And again, to me, as a wrestling fan who's been watching, I'm like, hey, these are good people, and I want to see what else they do. Because of this, So you've seen me get frustrated over storylines. You've seen me get frustrated over the directionless angles. But this kind of thing, seeing that, I'm just like, hey, these are good human beings in a profession that I love. I'm tuning in every week from here on for the foreseeable.
And that's cool you say that too, because like a lot of people just think short term, like, oh, that's so ineffective, or that's not going to draw fans or viewers. But if you look at it from a perspective of like, okay, this is goodwill with his company, not with fans even, like fans will get brought in and ultimately do get brought in, obviously, because like fans, that's what you need to tune in. But like, if you're showing that to your employees or your workers or your talent, it's like that speaks more, and I think in the grand scheme of things will speak more to you as a company and as a promoter,
And let's face it, wrestling fans by and large have changed. Those guys who are showing up to the show with giant spitters and chewing tobacco, like, yes, they're still there, but I think a lot of them are getting replaced by.
You saw that at WrestleMania in New Orleans.
What's that?
You saw that WrestleMania weekend in New Orleans.
And they're still there. And honestly, I kind of vibe with that crowd myself because I like old school wrestling. I like wrestling, as Vince McMahon would call it. So I sort of vibe with that spitter crowd. The crowd of people that's going to be throwing batteries into the ring when things don't go their way. But that being said, I think that a lot of these the today's wrestling fans are like hipsters and like nerds, like the
Dude, we see it at KSWA in Pittsburgh all the time when we go to Spirit.
Right, the people that enjoy like going to Comic-Con and stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that. So it's like it's a different crowd now than it used to be, and I think it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Ultimately, too, I liked how they played it off with Brodie Jr. Like, I thought the ending was funny. It was like, my birthday was 3 days ago, you idiots, and then he like threw the papers at Serpentico.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
And again, you want to talk about, so obviously that kid's future is pro wrestling. I mean, he's getting like he's born and bred for pro wrestling. Couldn't be cooler. Happy for him. Happy for his family.
Yeah, his mother said on Instagram that they treat him like one of the boys, but they allow him to be a kid. I thought that was such a cool quote from her, like on Instagram. After the birthday party happened.
And again, it speaks volumes to how much respect they have for Brodie Lee Sr. Where it's like they love him so much that they like, hey, bring his son in. We'll treat him like one of the boys. Like, we'll train him. We'll make sure that he learns the business.
Yeah.
So it couldn't be cooler. It's really interesting. It's a cool, unique thing to watch. Something we've certainly never seen in wrestling before. Another thing that we haven't seen in wrestling before, and something I don't want to see. I guess we have kind of seen in wrestling before with Scott Hall, is sad drinking. The sort of drinking that I cannot enjoy or get behind ever. Sad Hangman Page, who loves booze, he's like that lady in the drama film where it's like she's been hurt by love before. That was like the whole angle, right? Where
like
it's
the
like
jaded girls in the Goo Goo Dolls song.
Right. He's like, hey, you guys are awesome, but I've been hurt too bad. I can't do it. Can't join the Dark Order. I'm like, oh my God. Again, unlikable. Like, they're making him a person that I cannot like.
Dude.
And I want to like him.
Yes.
Big, good-looking dude who's good in the ring. I want to like him. But they're like oh, you want to like this guy? Here you go. Hate him. He sucks.
All before that too. It's like Hangman's kicking ass and like whooping ass, and like, he's on the side of Dark Order, and they're all good guys and everything like that. So they're all vibing real well. And like, yeah, it's just like him getting despondent and getting sad and like wallowing in his own sadness is not what you want to see from a Western. Like, now, like we compared him to Dean Martin and Rio Bravo before, and like Dino had those kind of like aspects to his character in that, but it's a little, obviously a Western is different in a lot of ways in telling that story than telling a wrestling story where you're rooting for a guy to kind of do that. It's not, and you know what? This wouldn't be as bad if this was the first time we saw it from Hangman. Now that could have been a more aspect of like, but you know what? We've seen this Hangman before, and we don't want to see it. So like them reintroducing him I didn't like it either. I'm hoping that they pivot back more so to like maybe Dark Order lifts his spirits up real quick, gets him back motivated. He is fighting. Did you see this? They announced his singles match for next week. He's fighting Ryan Nemeth, so Dolph Ziggler's brother, in singles action. So, I mean, the story's going to progress, but that the execution of that and the decision to go that route, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I'm with you. Yeah,
it sucks. It's unwatchable. And he's become to me like the Young Bucks basically are, just like unlikable, irredeemable characters.
Again, it's that up and down, up and down, up and down, where you want something steady and something that's intriguing.
And let's be clear about something. Like the comparison with D Martin, that was only as it relates to his drinking, where it's like, okay, D Martin had that redeeming moment where it's like, I'm putting down the booze and I'm gonna get serious about my life.
Yeah.
And it like made him more of a likable human being in that. Whereas so Hangman Page, to me, I'm more compare him to the man with no name, Sandy, or
Blondie,
or John Wayne in general, name a John Wayne character.
Yeah.
So it's like to see him like this, Stan Hansen, again, the Stan
Hansen role.
Stan Hansen would not be sad drinking. Then again, Stan Hansen wouldn't have been tag team with the Dark Order in the first place. So it's there's a lot to unpack with him, and none of it is good. So I'm frustrated watching that, because again, I want to like him. And let me say, when he would like chug a beer and then like hand it to somebody and then lariat somebody, I was like, stone cold.
Boom. That's it.
Like, he's the next Stone Cold Steve Austin, that like, I don't need anybody. I'm a badass. I can do whatever I want. I could come out here blind drunk and still kick the crap out of everybody.
Yeah.
Like, that was who he was, and I was totally getting behind it, and they ruined it. So it's frustrating.
I don't know if they ruined it. They can bring it back, but it's just
they ruined it.
No, they can bring it back.
Irredeemable, Dominic. Just like
come on. If see, that's the thing. I think with wrestling fans, we live week to week in a lot of ways. I think it can get fixed.
I can't push past it.
You can push past it.
I'm sure I probably will if they start doing
I know. We've been on this roller coaster many times. We can push.
If all of a sudden they start doing things 100% right, I'd be back on board. I don't know though, so the next segment I want to talk about is going to be the Kenny Omega Young Bucks business. So let me say this. I completely understand what they're trying to do with Kenny, right? Where they're trying to say like, this guy has reached like such a level of fame that he doesn't care about the people he used to be friends with. You know what I mean? All he cares about is himself and like his mentor.
They're kind of pitching the aspect too that Callis is manipulating him. So
yes. But and now they're trying to enter the storyline with the Young Bucks, and the Young Bucks are coming off as pathetic. Like, it's so hard to watch, where it's just like like Kenny's not returning their calls, and they're just like acting like these petulant kids. They gave what's his face, Don Callis. They gave Don Callis a shiner.
Oh yeah. Well, they were rude to Marvez too. Just thought right off the bat, you're like.
By the way. So Marvez got sent to a dungeon in Kenny Omega's house, and I'm like, okay, is this like the dungeon that's
like?
I was gonna say, is this the kind of dungeon that Stu Hart has in his house? Or
could you imagine if there was like a Stu Hart like character down there? Hey, come over.
Come on here, Butchie. Let me stretch you.
Let me grab that goatee of yours.
Well, we saw Marvez later, so whatever was going on in that dungeon, he managed to escape it. But I don't know, saying that Kenny Omega, this uber rich guy, has any kind of dungeon in his house, it's not a good scene.
Could be like American Psycho kind of stuff.
That's a vibe I'm getting. Rick James.
His shirt kind of reflected a Rick James kind of shirt, right?
Maybe that's his new angle, Dom.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So yeah, I'm kind of like, I mean, I get what they're doing. It's just not. It's the same thing. It's just like, how do you want me to? I can't you got to give me it's the Young Bucks are just in this gray area that's not intriguing, and it's like
Kenny's coming off great. Kenny's coming off like
fine,
this,
and Don Callis is great. You know,
they're both awesome. Unlikable heel, like, hey, I don't need my friends anymore. I'm too famous. I'm too rich. I don't care about you guys. Like, that's a good angle. But like the Young Bucks it should be like he's trying to bring them in to be like his entourage, and they're like, no, we don't need you. You know, you're not the same guy anymore. Like that should be their thing, not like, hey man, we've been trying to call and you haven't returned our calls.
We're friends. Like, it's just something that's, you know, they got to go heel. They just have to go heel. And I don't care if it's like heels with Kenny or anything, but that's the route you have to take with them right now, because there's stuff that they've done that's not likable. And it's like kind of irredeemable at this moment in time. So like I'm trying to think of things that they've done that I've liked, or it's mostly not likable stuff. I'm trying to think of things that they've done that I've liked or enjoyed, and I'm struggling. I just like the only thing I can honestly think, Mark, is like Nick Jackson's like hot tags. That's kind of like the likable thing about them right now. That's it. Like there's so much like, and they're obviously their moves are amazing and what they do, but it's just like, you know, and I've said this plenty of times before, is like, I honestly, like, if the slate was totally clean, like they could play great baby faces or they could play great heels, but the waters have been muddied so much that it's hard for me to invest in any of it. Here's kind of how I look at them and their moves too, where it's like, yes, they do some incredible stuff. So do a lot of the other talent. But here's the thing: is like it was probably a lot more incredible when it was on the indie scene and people weren't seeing it on a weekly basis. If I took a silver dollar in my hand and I flicked it up into the air, and then somebody shot it with an arrow, like you'd be like, that is the most incredible thing. I've never seen anything like that before. That's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Now watch me do that every week for months, and you'd be like, that's okay, whatever. Like, to that point though, the Young Bucks don't wrestle every week either though. Yeah, but pretty much every time they do, you see basically all the same stuff. Even with the Nick Jackson hot tag that you referenced. That can be said about almost any wrestler though too. But here's the difference, Dominic, is storyline. So like when you put these people in different positions or interesting positions, and then they have to fight out of it, or they're forced to sell, which Matt Jackson will not do. They're forced to sell, and they're forced to fight from underneath, and then there's like a reason for them to do these devastating moves where they're trying to get out of a situation. Then it makes more sense, and then it's more watchable on a weekly basis. Yes, you know, like when we used to watch Dean Malenko, yes, he would do a lot of the same stuff. He had that spot with Rey Mysterio where he'd fling him up in the air and then catch him with the knee thing. Amazing. Here's the thing: he was busting that out maybe once a month. That's a good point. And when he did, it was just like, hey, I finally got this little guy in the ring with me, and I can treat him like a job guy. Yeah. You know, so like there was a reason, there was a storyline, there was a point to it. So now it's like every week I'm seeing a Meltzer driver, and I'm seeing like Nick Jackson do his crazy flippy thing onto the apron, and I'm just like, I don't care anymore. It's just like Tope Suicida. I don't give a shit about Tope Suicidas or Tope Con Heroes ever again. I could never see one again. So that's kind of the issue with the Young Bucks at this point. Okay, this is kind of an off-topic aside, but I do want to get your thoughts on it. We talked about how great the main event was last week between Brian Cage and Darby Allin. Like, now I don't know if you heard, but Bully Ray on Busted Open Radio gave some criticism of that match, saying the guys weren't selling enough, and just kind of put some criticism in that regard. My argument to that is that's a world across the business problem, is guys not selling enough. So I didn't necessarily make a note of that in that match. Do you hold that as any sort of criticism for that main event last week? No, I don't, because I think that they handled it properly. Now, obviously, I don't know as much about pro wrestling as Bully Ray does. He's been in the business too long. But here's how I see it. You take a babyface who tends to be smaller in stature,
and then you take a heel who tends to be much larger and more violent, and the heel just kicks the crap out of the babyface, which is what they did.
Yeah.
Brian Cage dominated the majority of that match, and yes, there were some horrific spots. Now, what I think Bully Ray might be trying to refer to is like back in his day when pro wrestling was going on. Like if somebody somebody being flung out of the ring through a table isn't a high spot. That's like the dude does a stretcher job.
Yeah.
So like I think that might be what he's talking about. Like not only did Darby Allin survive that situation, but then he came back into the ring and somehow managed to win the match.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that's what he's talking about. But like let's face it, wrestling has evolved. Like, you know, that is a finishing spot. I mean, I personally would still buy it, and I'd be like, yep, that was awesome. What a cool way to end the match. But I think today's wrestling fan doesn't quite see it that way.
Yeah, no, it's a little bit a different thing. I mean, you know, and that can be good or bad. Like, I think it does, to some extent, it does put some handcuffs on how you tell a story, because like that's tools in the toolbox you're taking out. But you know, I didn't give that I didn't give that any thought, and you know, maybe that just says something about the business today. But I didn't give that any thought when watching it or when talking about it with you last week. So, you know,
here's another frustrating thing I'm seeing in wrestling nowadays is that whole like just barely getting the pinfall on somebody, where it's like, oh, you only just barely got them. Now it's not every match, but I do see it a little bit too often. And actually, Scott Hall, I remember him making the point like, hey, look, if I'm putting somebody over, I'm putting them over. Like I'm taking their finish and I'm laying there forever, trying to recover afterwards. You know, and it's like that actually makes a lot of sense to me, where it's like, hey, look, you know, if you're gonna pin my shoulders down, that means that you knock me the fuck out, you know. Yeah. So I don't know. To me, I think that a lot of these guys, these young guys, you know, it's like I said before, slow down. If you think you're going too slow, slow down, and just let the match develop. Like everything's about bing bang boom, high spot, running around the ring. It all seems very coordinated, and it's yes, undeniably entertaining. Exhausting though. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. And you know, from the no selling standpoint, like I get that, from like, especially if you're like, you know, that should be the end of the match if you get busted through a table like that. But like, I think that plays into what the story was being told, was like Darby keeps fighting back. Like that's what you want to see from your TNT champion. And heck, he's smaller than Brian Cage, but the dude is scrappy as fuck, and then he ends up getting the pin on him. So
here's the thing too, is like, what would it have hurt if that was the finish to the match last week? Like, let's say that's, you know, obviously it happened too early in the match to be the finish, but let's say that they put it off and then 20 minutes into the match, you know, after when Darby Allin's in the middle of making his big comeback, Brian Cage manages to get his hands on him and sling him outside the ring through the table. And then Darby can't answer the 10 count. Darby doesn't lose his belt. Brian Cage stays strong. But then it's like maybe after the match, Brian Cage goes out there to get a little bit more. You know, maybe he's doing a stretcher job, and Brian Cage goes out to get a little more from him, like pull him off the stretcher. But then Darby starts fighting back.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that there's different ways to go about it. And there's ways that you can respect the business a little bit more, which is a grievance that I can understand, where it's like, hey, look, if we want people to believe that this is legitimate, like if somebody gets flung 30 feet and then falls through a table, how about he doesn't get up right away?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I see Bully Ray's perspective for sure.
Oh yeah. Especially to that point, like, especially that. No, it's just intriguing. I want to get your thoughts on it, because like it made me think about it. I was like, dude, I love that match. That was an amazing bout, and I thought it was a great story, and you know, it was the match of the night. So no, it just made me think of that.
It's just we've just got to adjust to what pro wrestling is today. But speaking of Darby Allin, Dominic, what did you think of the Darby and Sting segment there? And by the way, Darby and Sting are having Sting has seen some action here coming up soon. Apparently, it's going to be against Brian Cage and Ricky Starks, two guys who desperately need a win on national television and are not going to get it in that match.
Yeah, Revolution it's happening at. I think it's a pay-per-view, though. I don't think it's on television.
Oh, okay. Well, either way, they need a big, significant win, and they're not going to get it.
Maybe they will though. They could get the pin off of Darby. Who's to say they wouldn't? You know?
Why would you have Sting do a job?
I mean, because you have him long term, and it's Sting, and like he's kind of Teflon at this point. I think. I mean, it's not like.
I agree. I don't think the AEW is going to see it that way.
I don't know. Yeah, yeah. I mean, as far as the segment goes, I thought it was cool, like Sting starting off with the promo and then like being interrupted by Taz and his crew, and I still Hook looks like a major badass, like staying off to the side. like, but yeah, like, and I thought it was a fine segment. Like, I don't think there was too much wrong. The only thing, like maybe the only criticism I had is Darby wasn't clear cut and like, yes, I accept your challenge kind of thing. Like, it was kind of like, be careful what you wish for, you just might get it. And then that was kind of it. But like, and then the announcers kind of was like, well, it looks like they're gonna have that match, like basically is what they said. So it was fine ultimately. But yeah, that's probably maybe the only criticism I had. But yeah, I mean, I think it should be fine. Meltzer's speculating that it's going to be a cinematic match, which makes sense for Sting. Marcus, how would you handle this tag match, considering Sting's age and previous injuries and all that stuff, factoring all that in?
Well, let me say first of all, I don't know if you remember hearing me say this before, but like Ghostbusters 1 and Ghostbusters 2. Ghostbusters 1 and Ghostbusters 2 are basically the same film, right? Where I've never tried this before, but I think that if you had them both running on the same TV or one TV side by side at the same time, I think that they would probably line up pretty well as far as like even the mood, where it's like, okay, comedy spot, or we're gonna get a little more serious. Oh, play the Ghostbusters theme now. Like, I really think that if you did that, because they're basically the exact same film. That's how I'm starting to feel about these Sting segments. I love Sting. I love that he's in AEW. I love that he's tag teaming with Darby Allin. But every week it's kind of the same damn thing, right? It's like the lights go down, snow's flying.
Well, what do you want?
Oh, Taz comes out. Yeah, I want creativity, Dom. Like, I want to see some different stuff. And it's like all this now is just becoming the same thing, week after week. It's always the same.
I kind of get what you mean.
So I'm getting tired of seeing it. And I understand that Sting is old. I understand that you can only use him in certain ways and during certain spots, and there's going to be very little physicality for the most part. So like, I get that. But that being said, it's like we've like come up with something. You're paying him some big money, so let's not do the same damn thing every single week. How about that? Yeah. So that's kind of my criticism here is like, I want to see different. I want to see more. So I hope that they can deliver it. Now, if you want to ask me how you can use Sting, I don't know. Now, like when it comes to that tag team match, I know exactly how you use him. You keep him on the apron for most of the match, bring him in every once in a while and let him get a little offense in, and then tag Darby back in. I mean, Sting is going to be a hot tag at the end, and then it should be a pretty quick finish. So that's my
though. If it wasn't in the ring, but if it was like a legit street fight, like it took place in the street.
I think we're angling toward a cinematic match.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know necessarily for sure this is going to be one, but I think that's going to be the ultimate Sting AEW moment, is a cinematic style matchup. Because allegedly that's what he wanted with the Undertaker, right?
How would that have been to do that for the Taker and him?
Because you can say cut. Yeah. That's how. There honestly, if there were stunt doubles, I wouldn't doubt that at all. So that's probably what they had in mind for that situation. And I could see the same. Like, this is going to be it'll probably wind up being a cinematic situation down the road with Sting. That'll be like his big AEW claim to fame. As far as this match is concerned, it'll probably mostly be Sting getting offense. Whenever somebody's getting heat on him, it'll be like him maybe dropping to a knee. He's sure as hell not taking any bumps. So yeah, that's probably about.
Though, you think this upcoming tag match at Revolution is going to be in ring bout contest, not cinematic? You think
it's not going to be cinematic? I don't think it will be cinematic. I think it's going to wind up being not in ring, but like it'll be like a street fight, but where Sting is like probably mostly Sting following people around and getting offense on them. And then like he'll take a shot and then like he'll get a breather and they'll go get heat on Darby. Would be my guess.
I tell you what you do. If you are going to make it a cinematic match, watch some Dark Knight movies like Christopher Nolan and kind of pattern Sting's vibe off of that. I think that'd be pretty sweet.
Absolutely. And look, if you can do it in a way that's not super obvious, if you're going to do a cinematic match, whatever, get a stunt double in there. You can. Like, let's make it look good. Let's make it look
That made me not see it or notice it. If you're going to do that, obviously.
Do not let me notice it. Yeah, that's the big thing. If you can make it seamless, no problem. But like, it's now all of a sudden I'm picturing Sting like being flung off of a building. And there's there's a stunt double who's on fire, who's falling off the building.
Or like and then Living Color when they would throw like a dummy somewhere and it was clear. Dummy.
Tony Schiavone's got to sell it like, oh, it's Sting. I think he was on fire.
All right, what you got next? All
right, what did you think about the Cody Rhodes match up there with Peter Avalon?
So like I liked how they started it off where they like it was going to be a clear-cut win for Cody. Like Cody immediately hits him with a crossroads. He was getting it ready to pin. They wanted to prolong this match, and I thought it was a good way to do that. As far as I did not like the finish. As far like clever, but
no.
I did not like it. I feel it kind of, and I think Meltzer said it best. Was like, obviously. So if you did not watch, if you're just like listening to us talk, Cody has Peter Avalon locked in the figure 4. Peter Avalon turns it over, and then Cody turns it back over. Cody threatens to slap Peter Avalon, and that's what makes him tap, not the figure 4. So it did not, like, Cody's matches throughout AEW have been awesome. Like, ultimately, I feel, and most consistently awesome matches that you get is out of Cody Rhodes, because he knows how to tell a story, and it's like that old school thing. This was not it. Like, that ending was just, it was comedic, and like and to Meltzer's point, it downplayed the effectiveness of Cody's figure 4, which I thought was a cool aspect. Like, it's such a simple move that we see all the time, but it's also a classic move because of Ric Flair and everything. So it's like Cody locking it in and getting submissions and legit tap outs out of it meant something. He made that move meant something again. This disarmed it, I feel. So I did not like the finish. I thought the start of it was fine if you wanted to prolong the match a little bit, but ultimately I did not like the finish.
I think, so Peter Avalon, he's got like a man bun situation. He has a mustache. I feel like him tapping out for fear of being slapped is like, it's got to be like a commentary on millennial hipsters, right? Where it's just like, they're just soft, scared of everything. He was concerned about getting slapped.
Like, he's pretty, Peter Avalon. That's the reasoning.
Yeah, and by the way, when did he become a discount bin dollar store Rick Rude? I thought he was the librarian.
Oh yeah, that's gone. I think Leva Bates is the lone librarian now. Right. Maybe he gave up books.
He's like Rick Rude if Rick Rude would like only hit the gym, maybe once a week.
Maybe once a week.
Yeah, so it wasn't good, dude. And I gotta say, like, you'll hear my Meltzer rating, my Marcus Meltzer rating at the end of the show. But
we forgot to give it last week, by the way. Did you remember?
Oh, really? Oh, shit.
We didn't even give our MVPs either last week.
Oh my god, what a nightmare last week was. It's because you were hosting. But yeah, it was. This was one among many drop balls on this particular program. So yeah, it wasn't good. It was senseless from the start to me. I didn't like it. And again, to your point, Cody Rhodes, probably the best worker in AEW right now. Certainly the best old school worker in AEW aside from FTR. So yeah, that was a rough scene. I don't want to see anything like that again.
No. Yeah. I mean, no, it wasn't a Cody match. And like, I think so many of Cody matches. And I mean, if you want to think from a clever perspective, it was creative, but I don't think it was good. Like, I don't, no, like it just, there was a lot of things.
It buries Cody's figure 4, and it also buries Peter Avalon.
Yeah.
So like, is Peter Avalon just destined to be like kind of like this nerdy job guy? I think so. Following that.
Yeah, it doesn't put that him in a good position like that. I mean, like if you had him run around and do that kind of thing, where because like the thing is too, he's getting a string of wins on Dark. That's been the thing going on. It was pretty Peter.
Fuck that now. He just tapped out because he was afraid he's gonna get slapped.
So it's just like, nah.
So all the people you put him over against on AEW Dark, what was the point?
What was the point? Yeah, no, I don't think it was a good. I did not like that either, Mark.
So something I am digging though, Dominic. How about Jungle Boy and Dax getting ready to square off?
Yeah, dude. Yes, like I'm all about that match. Honestly, I'm all about next week. Like you got Lance Archer going up against Eddie Kingston too. It's like they're setting it up good, and you know what? We're getting to see like more Jack Perry instead of Jungle Boy, and I think, yeah, that's a good thing.
That's where it's at with him, is like, let's get him in single situations. Like I don't want to see people tagging in. Like I want to see him one-on-one with people. He did great against Chris Jericho in that with a one-on-one situation. He's damn sure gonna have a good match with Dax Harwood. Dax Harwood
MJF too. MJF.
So I just said that Cody is the best worker in AEW, and he's not. Now that I think of it, the best solo worker in AEW is Dax Harwood. He's unbelievable in the ring. He's old school to a T. He knows how to tell a story in the ring. He's unbelievable. And I think that having somebody like Jungle Boy come in, who's kind of like the new style, but really talented at it, I really think that these two are going to bring out the best in each other, and it's going to be something else.
Was putting that match over Hardcore too. He's like, this could be the show stealer next week.
Yeah, and let me also say, Dominic, I was very relieved when Luchasaurus had a live mic in front of him and somehow managed not to bring up that he has a master's degree in medieval literature. That was, wow. What a sigh of relief that was.
Don't you do that with something though? Don't you kind of bring up, oh yeah, you kind of do that too.
With what?
When we talk about life in general, you'll be like, hey, I have a college degree. I'm capable of doing all that stuff. You say that. You just say that.
That's just, I'm just proud of getting my business degree, Dominic. I didn't get a degree in something that you would literally not be able to find a job in otherwise. Is it medieval literature, Dominic?
I think it's history, isn't it?
No, it's medieval literature.
Is that what it is?
Medieval literature.
Is that a fact, or are you playing up something?
No, that's honestly it. And I don't know. I'm sure he could probably go be like a college professor with medieval literature or something. Yeah. House. He's enormous. He has everything you want in a pro wrestler. He's athletic. He's huge. Let's start using him properly. For the love of God, use him properly.
I did not know this, but I learned. Did you hear about Ethan Page in Impact getting his heart literally ripped out?
I did, yes, by himself.
He did not like that, by the way. He had a Impact. He got he was done with Impact, and they edited his that thing. And I tell you what, he did not like it.
Ethan Page didn't.
Ethan Page didn't.
He did it.
Well, I mean, there was a different way it went about, I guess, or something. I don't know. It wasn't the story that he wanted to tell, essentially. But
he's out of Impact now.
He's gone. Yeah, that's how he exits. That's how Impact literally kills people off when they want them to leave a company or they arrest them. So it's but my point was, I did not know this, that Luchasaurus was removed from Impact after he got hit with a lead pipe, in the back of the head, he got his head bashed in. That's how he left Impact. So
I didn't know that he was on Impact.
I didn't know that either. I thought he was just with Lucha Underground. That's where I thought it was.
Well, I know he was one of the people who was like a whistleblower with Bill DeMott in WWE.
Oh, that's
created.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
so
yeah, So Impact kills people, man. Kills people.
Well, foregone conclusion, Ethan Page will be joining AEW at some point.
I'm thinking so too.
Because there's a lot of stock in him as far as like his value with his Twitter presence and whatnot and YouTube and all that shit.
Yeah, he's very active. Like YouTube especially. He does his vlog and all that stuff. So
yeah, so I think he's gonna land on his feet with AEW.
What else we got?
Here's the thing, man. I know I always go heel on Luchasaurus, but like I'm mad because like he's this big as a house guy, easy heel, perfect heel. He's like the new Kane. He could be the new Kane.
You're right.
But he's coming out there and he's on the mic and he's just like, by the way, I've got it 4 degrees and none of them matter. And then he buries himself by doing like these devastating looking moves and letting people kick out of him. I don't know, man. It's a guy with such great potential. If you could just get him around some people who know how to work, especially big guys with experience.
There's people there though that know that. So it's like,
get him around somebody like Glenn Jacobs. Get him around somebody like Kevin Nash. Like these guys who are like experienced big men who are like, hey, look, dude, like you've got all the tools, but here's how you use them. Lance Archer, just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should do it. So it's I really think that you can benefit from that. Yeah. So sorry I went heel on Luchasaurus there.
Oh, you were like hardcore.
Hey, let's talk about the Jon Moxley match against Nick Comoroto.
Yeah.
Dude, Nick Comoroto, he looks like Hercules Hernandez and Bruiser Brody had a baby.
Or Pampero Firpo.
Yeah, I like him a lot.
Me too.
Big dude. He seems like he's a good hand. So yeah.
And Moxley put him over, man. Like hardcore.
Not sure why they mentioned that he had an accounting degree. I don't think that did him a lot of favors.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, I think it was JR was just like, and he's got a degree in accounting. It's like, don't give a fuck about that, JR. Let's just watch him wrestle.
But I mean, that kind of plays to what Brody Lee liked and what Bruiser Brody liked was like, or the intelligent giant like kind of thing. So maybe the angling that way.
I guess. I don't know. But and by the way, let me say that Mox won that match in the right way, where he could have easily probably convinced everybody, hey, I want this guy to take the paradigm shift and I want to pin him. But instead, he just like he puts him out. The guy did not submit. The guy did not get pinned. He just he passed out.
It was great. You could see Comoroto be a big factor in AEW at some point.
No question about it. He's got a great look. I love that he's just hairy and he doesn't care. He's got like a hairy back, hairy chest. I think Jon Moxley saw this match coming. He's like, I'm letting my chest hair grow. Fuck it. Let's go.
Now we are hairy Italians, Marcus. If we happen to form a tag team, would we shave?
Absolutely not. No, we would be very bushy out there.
Yeah. The testosterone just exists.
Yeah, the bikini lines would be offensive.
I would shave my head. I'd keep doing that. I don't want to look like a specter going on.
Well, that's fine.
Okay.
Dominic, is Mox the best promo in pro wrestling right now?
Babyface. I said this. My phone's not around. Oh yeah, it is. I said this on Twitter. Was that he is the best badass babyface that you can get right now. Going with like tough as nails and just like what captivates you to get to that point. Undoubtedly, Marcus, he's just on a completely new level that like is so engaging. And if like I think this speaks to if you really had a huge live crowd there, I mean it's gonna elevate. Like once it gets back to that, knock on wood, everything it's gonna be to that. It's gonna speak more for Jon Moxley, I think, at that point too, to his ability to be a babyface.
He's believable, and he comes up with unique perspectives when he's cutting these promos. He's basically saying like to Jon Moxley, like, I don't care who you bring. You can bring all your buddies, from Impact. You can bring your buddies from New Japan. It doesn't matter. You're not gonna be able to stop me. So it's I think Moxley, I mean, he's hitting on stuff that like very outside the box thinking, very believable, engaging. I like Jon Moxley a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, we talk about it every week, but it's just like, how can you not talk about it every week? Mm-hmm.
Well, let me say every week, I also tend to put over Eddie Kingston for his promo work. And I mean, this week, he had this little face off with Lance Archer. Jake the Snake is out there with his shirt unbuttoned down to his navel. That was weird, but he was trying to stop Lance Archer from getting confrontational. Also weird. Why wouldn't you let him? But
he's just wasn't he just rubbing his shoulders and kind of like being like, I don't know.
He was kind of like holding him back, like, hey, come on, man. No, come on. But I guess it makes sense because there were like more people there. So maybe he was like, hey, dude, there's like 4 people here. You're going to get shit beat out of you.
Probably wants him to save it, Marcus.
He wants him to save it. Wants him to save all of his energy. But I thought that, again, Eddie Kingston nailing it. Believable. Good promo. Eddie Kingston needs this win, don't you think? He needs to.
But so does Lance Archer, though.
Who goes over?
I don't know. That's tough. I don't know. Because, like, yeah. You know what? I think Eddie Kingston would take the L. Because it could play into more. I think Eddie Kingston should take the loss. Because
Kingston won a match?
Oh, yeah. He's won a match.
On something other than Dark?
Oh, yeah. I think he's won on Dynamite before.
I don't know that he has.
I think he has. But you know what? It can play more into his storytelling because he's a miserable kind of like angry dude. So I mean, like he loses in a hard fought match against a big dude like Lance Archer. It just further fuels that fire and plays into that story that like, okay, this guy's gonna hit a breaking point and something's gonna happen. So I think you can tell that story. I think that makes the most sense. Is that
I see too much value in him for him to keep doing jobs.
I do too. But I think his promo ability and his presence speaks to his ability to come back from something like this. So I think it'll all play out fine, So I'm excited for it.
For my money, for my opinion, I think that he needs to go over in this match against Archer.
Well, how would you do it against Archer? Because Archer needs to go over. I think he's just had a babyface like turn here, so it's just like.
Here's the difference: is that one of them can use fuckery, interference to get the win. The other one can't. So I think that's why you put over Eddie Kingston, where it's like you got an easy out for Lance Archer, where it's like, but his buddies interfered. That's why he won.
I think though Archer's size plays more into that though, like where it's like he's a big dude, you got to get him a win. Like he's got to beat people, and not that he has been losing or anything, but I think like it really plays into him. If I were booking it, I'd give it to Lance Archer, but like obviously I keep Eddie hot too. So
I don't know how I feel. Because I see your point, Lance Archer, he's a star. He's a big dude, somebody you can really build around. But like Eddie Kingston's just got it, man.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. Could be interesting. That's one of those matches that it's like, hey, I don't know who's gonna win. Could be interesting.
That's what you want to kind of tune in for. See who's
gonna win. That's what it's all about. So next match I want to talk about, Dominic, is going to be the clusterfuck of a match. Matt Sydal and Top Flight and Matt Hardy with Private Party. What do you think?
Very athletic, well intended, but yeah, just to your point, clusterfuck, man. Like a lot of this stuff did not make sense. Very muddy and confusing in a lot of ways. I was happy JR made note of that on air, like, and said like, how can you keep track, or like who knows what's going on? Like essentially he said, I really, Top Flight's amazing. Like their ability to do those moves at the AJR, and then the presence that they have in the ring really stands out, I think, in a super way. I do like ultimately, like, this is what you were talking about. Like, you called Matt directionless last week, and the week before. I think they absolutely have a direction with him and a private party, and I think it's the right direction. But from a match perspective, just too messy, well intended with some great athletes in there, but just way too darn messy, and something that could be picked apart by people that do not like AEW for some reason.
Well, so private party's going heel, right?
Yes.
I guess. So I get, to me, that's okay. At least we've got a direction now. You've got a heel manager / partner in Matt Hardy, and that you guys are going heel. So that's cool. But yeah, it's actually my wife was watching this match with me, and she said, what were her exact words? She referred to the match as hard to watch. And I feel compelled to agree. She said like
It was.
Yeah, she was like watching and this is a novice pro wrestling watcher, and she's saying like I can see them setting up for moves. Like I can see them cooperating. She was like, and this is hilarious because again, she doesn't watch, but she's like, I can tell that they're trying to be safe with each other. She was like, but it's taking away from the actual match. I'm like, if you're seeing and noticing that, like, think about the people who've been watching this for 15 or 20, 30, 40 years who are like just seeing it like these guys are all cooperating. What is this shit?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was bad. It was not a good match. I will say though, Matt Sydal, dude, he's amazing. At one point, he did a twisting standing backflip. So he started to do a backflip, but then he did a twist in midair. It looked like he was hovering. Like just like otherworldly athleticism out of this guy. Let me say, Dominic, 100%, he has my vote to be the first AEW Cruiserweight champion.
Okay, not Danny Limelight.
I've changed my mind. If I said that last week, that was bullshit. I want to see Matt Sydal. I want to see him go to the finals against Sammy Guevara.
Okay. I can't wait for that tournament.
It's happening, Dominic. As I've said before, Tony Khan is apparently listening. Abaddon's biting motherfuckers on the neck. So Tony Khan is listening to this. So yeah, Tony, it's coming.
Yeah. I can't wait. It should be good. Should be good. You know, and how you can play at the end, you can have Dean Malenko present the belt. How great would that be?
Oh my God. I didn't even think about that. That's incredible.
Isn't it? I'm incredible.
The idea is incredible. So Dominic, we're about at the end. I do want to finally talk about though. How about Layla Hirsch?
Yeah, I was gonna say if we're about at the end, we didn't talk about one of the best matches on the card that night.
This is a good way to close it out. Layla Hirsch and Penelope Ford.
Man, hard. You know what? We really liked Serena Deeb versus Ty Conte the week before. But this match was different in a really good way. Like it was hard hitting, slugfest. Like
I'm glad you said that because yes, I noticed that both of them, they both kind of throw forearms as their punches, and both of them were like they were a little snug.
Yeah.
And it looked good.
It looked great, and like both ladies, I mean, awesome. Like, you know, Penelope Ford is super understated as a talent because she's kind of like an aside to Kip Sapien in a lot of ways, like as far as it goes sometimes. But when she gets to show her stuff in the ring, it's amazing. And like, she's great. And like, her presence in the ring and her appearance is great. It's just like, a total package kind of a wrestler there. And then Layla Hirsch, unique in such a way where she's like short in stature, but just fucking beats your ass. Like Ronda Rousey-esque, and like I think it's very, very cool. So yes,
man. I think that this is the best that Layla Hirsch has looked in action so far. Or not Layla Hirsch, I'm sorry, Penelope Ford. This is the best that Penelope Ford has looked so far in action. Might be due to Layla Hirsch. Honestly, she's a great worker.
I don't think so. I think it's a one and the same. I think they're both complementing each other on that.
Maybe so, but I like.
Penelope went up against somebody, I can't remember who, but I remember being like, Penelope Ford is talented. Like, she's talented. So,
and she's kind of got everything you want in a pro wrestler. She's beautiful. She's a great worker. She's athletic. So she knows how to be a good heel. So I like her a lot. I think her stock is way up in my book. And let me say, Dominic, you know who Layla Hirsch, it finally kind of sunk in for me who Layla Hirsch reminds me of. She's very squat and compact. She reminds me a little bit of Taz. How cool would she be on Team Taz?
Ooh, that'd be cool too. You're telling me Serena Deeb with FTR, Taylor Hirsch with Team Taz. I'm not against that.
I think it would be cool as hell to see her team up with Team Taz. Something that was not cool as hell, Dominic. This Butler angle is a rough scene,
dude.
With Chuck.
Listen, so this is my criticism for that. Now, I liked, the idea of him being the butler and the dynamic. Let me get to so like the dynamic between him and Miro, but what I really do not like is how it got set up. Was like the stakes weren't that high when it started. I mean, the stakes obviously are high, but like how it was brought to television was like, okay, yeah, just get away from me. I accept this. So it kind of eliminated the aspect of like, okay, you really put this guy in he put himself in a tough position, but it makes zero sense why he did that. So like when you think about like Miro's pressuring him to say that he's his best friend instead of Orange Cassidy, it takes away anything to that extent. Like if you're Chuck, why would you be like, fuck, I'm not doing that. Kick my ass. Like, I'm not going to say that, or I'm not going to trip. Because didn't he trip Layla Hirsch in the match or something too? Was that part of it?
Yes.
So
yes.
Like, why it does not make sense from that aspect.
Was he the one who held her feet so she couldn't kick out at the end?
I think Kip was. I think that was Kip.
Either way, it's like, and I had the same note where I'm just like, so what if he says no? Like, what happens if Miro says, hey, tell him you're my best friend? And he's just like, nah, not doing it.
Not doing that.
Like, yeah, like they didn't lay out any consequences of any kind for him. If they said like, oh, we've talked to Tony Khan, your contract is suspended, or you're fired or whatever if you don't do this for a month or whatever the stipulation is. It's like just stupid, thoughtless, directionless. Like they just don't know what to do. They're like, hey, we've got all these talents. What do we want to do with Miro? I don't know. Give him a fucking butler.
I think it would have made more sense, like if they executed starting off well, if they set up that stipulation in a well thought out way, but it was just like, yeah, get away from me, I don't care. So it just kind of like, disarmed that. It disarmed anything that like, because I think you can really kind of play into like, Chuck unwillingly having to do a lot of this stuff, but it's just like that's an aspect I found frustrating with it, because I'm like, this could kind of be cool. And like, it could create more of this thing with, this dynamic of Orange Cassidy kind of losing his friend in a way, like by him doing this. But it's just like, I think the setup of it, like, kind of damaged it in a little bit of a way. So
I did laugh about Orange Cassidy, like slowly walking away at the end though.
Yeah.
I was just like, it had some real like 1980s Incredible Hulk vibes to it at the end. The music playing, yes, he was hitchhiking. So that made me laugh. It would have been really funny if they would have actually played that music as he like put his hands in his pockets and walked away. But
if you do it for the one show, that would have been great.
None of it makes sense. I thought it was really dumb. And again, just they have an incredible talent. I say this every week. They have an incredible talent in Miro. Just awesome, unique, one of one kind of a guy. Should be positioned like a Goldberg almost, where it's just like this unstoppable force of a human being. But instead they're like, just give him a fucking butler, just whatever.
Honestly, I think that's a fine part of it, but it's like, again, how they played it up and set it up was not a good way. I liked his tracksuit this week. I will say that.
Like what?
His track jacket. I did like it.
He dresses like a fucking asshole every week, Dominic. So, just a rough scene for Miro so far in AEW. Hasn't been the best run.
It's like, it's not as bad as it was. I think it's getting better, but this is a bump in the road with the Butler thing. I don't mind it. I honestly really don't mind the Butler dynamic, but again, I'll say this for the fourth fucking time. It's just like how it was set up was just not good. I am still intrigued by the matchup of Miro versus Orange Cassidy, though. I will say that.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Well, yes, that matchup, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like you have to give me a reason to care about that matchup, and they're just not giving it to me yet. Like the only reason I care is like, hey, Orange Cassidy's small and Miro's big. Let's go. Like that's the only reason I care about it. Aside from that, there's nothing.
Are we missing anything else?
No, dude. That's as far as I'm concerned. That's the whole damn program. Today's Tully Blanchard's birthday. Love
Happy
Tully.
birthday, Tully.
Yeah, I love Tully. You know, he's one of those guys, man, he just was off my radar for my entire life, basically up until the past year or two. Where it's like, if you think about it, so you and I started watching wrestling around like 98, 97, 98.
97, yeah.
Yeah. But really more consistently in 1998. And like Tully was on the indies. And then it's like we got really into WWE. Tully was not involved. I think maybe he showed up backstage every once in a while. He was like trying to be like an agent or something during that period.
Maybe.
So like that was going on, but I had no idea about Tully Blanchard, and now I'm like going back and checking him out. I'm like, Tully Blanchard is cool. Tully Blanchard is awesome. He's a good worker, and I'm just like, Tully Blanchard should have been signed to a major promotion during the Monday Night Wars.
It's unbelievable too. You think about it too, and like his ability to like still be a heel and like bring a great promo and stuff like that. Just like, how wasn't this guy used when we were like teenagers and everything?
He was in the indies in 1998 in the height of the Monday Night Wars. It's like there was a weapon out there that nobody was using.
Yeah, crazy, man, unbelievable. Like Tully is great. Happy birthday!
Happy birthday, Tully. Yeah, I like him. I've heard he is a complete asshole as a human being, but I don't care. I like him.
He seemed nice to me. He was all right.
Oh, okay. Well, so basically what Arn Anderson says about him is just like he was a great athlete and he was famous and he knew it. And he sort of like acted like it.
That's what you want out of a wrestler, okay? When
absolutely.
You know?
I have no problem with him being a dickhead. So yeah, I like Tully Blanchard. Happy birthday, Tully. Wish I could have seen you during the Monday Night Wars, but hey, at least I'm seeing you now, bub.
At least you know what? I'd let him. I mean, if it played into his ability to be a heel, I would let him put me in a hammerlock. How's that sound?
That sounds miserable. But I guess I'd let him do it.
Would you? You'd let him do it to me, or you'd let him do it to you?
I'd allow him to do it to you.
Thanks.
Dominic, let's get to my rating for the week. So I don't know if this is the lowest of all time. We're gonna have to go back through the annals.
Boy.
But
man,
Dominic, this week it's a 3.4. This was not a good program. Now they got I think it was over 800,000 viewers, which is tremendous. But like you've got all those eyeballs on your product and you're just delivering a garbage pile of a show. So yeah, it sucked. It wasn't a good episode this week.
Well, what was ultimately the highlights for you if you had to choose?
Layla Hirsch,
okay,
versus Penelope Ford. I thought that was a good match. And Jon Moxley's promo and match. And that would be about it.
The Brodie Lee segment too, Junior.
Yeah, yes, and I kind of put that in like a separate category.
Yeah.
You know, so that was awesome. It was a cool moment. But no, I mean, as far as like the show itself is concerned, there were very few redeeming qualities.
I mean, that's like, I think you're pretty rough on the rating sometimes. But yeah, like, it's like, it's not, ultimately, it's not their best show. Like, it isn't. It's like, there was a lot of criticism to have with it, you know? But, you know, it's like, again, wrestling fans, and I think critics and wrestlers, and a lot of times, everybody tends to live on that week-to-week basis where I think we take we don't look at things from like a grand scheme of it all. Like, where it's like, ultimately, will this affect how the trajectory of what we're seeing on television or anything like that, where it's like down the road, it's like, and like I tend to get critical about WWE and how they, and rightfully so, from a continuity perspective and stuff like that. But there is that aspect that Vince has to a moment where it's like people will forget stuff. They will. But it's also like, and I think you kind of have to factor that in a lot of ways. I don't think it's going to play into like a long-term thing, like with AEW. This is not going to be like, oh God, this is damaging to the product. But it's also like, you don't want to get to that extreme that Vince is at where like, oh, they'll forget this or they'll forget that. Because Vince thinks that everybody forgets everything. And that's not true. He forgets everything. We don't.
So here's the thing when it comes to pro wrestling is like you've got a weekly product. So essentially, you know how like soap operas, for example, it's a weekly product. People are constantly writing for it. And so like every once in a while, the old well runs dry, and you have to do like a fucking face swap with somebody, you know, on the soap opera where it's like this person had plastic surgery.
Replaced by.
Yes. Or not even like replacing actors. It's like saying like this person had plastic surgery. I'm actually your brother. Yeah. There's like a lot of that because it's like, look, man, there's only so many fucking ideas out there. That being said, Dominic, I have a buttload of ideas. Where like I honestly, Tony Khan, if you call me, I could help you. Give me a call. And I guarantee that I can make your creative better. And you know what? I don't expect you to believe me, Tony. I'm going to prove it because sometime soon, I don't know when, Dominic, you keep putting me off on it. You and I are recording my new podcast. Right. That's called WCW Rewritten. The first episode is ready. I'm ready to rock.
You're ready to rock and roll, huh?
Yeah, dude. This episode, Starcade 1997, Dominic, where it all kind of started going tits up. I've completely rewritten that episode. I'm all ready for the next week. And let me tell you, shit's about to get crazy in WCW.
Cray. Marcus, I forget. Now, obviously you were in Vegas, but were you at Starcast 2 at all?
No, I never made an appearance at Starcast. I was too busy gambling on the Michael Jackson slot machine.
I tell you what, we were like Captain Planet in the Planeteers when it came to like when our powers aligned. We were pretty decent at the old slot machines. Buffalo, what was that one called? I can't remember.
Buffalo. I don't know. I won like $120 on like I Dream of Jeannie or something. Wow, it was a good time.
Man, I can't wait till we can all do that again. Vegas was fun.
Hey man, this thing is almost over. Everybody just wear your damn
mask. That's not necessarily true. It's not almost over.
Probably not, but just keep wearing your masks, folks, and we'll push past it. Dominic, what else do we have this week?
Well, one more week. We'll do the draft next week.
Folks, we're never doing the draft again.
It's coming back.
It's over. It's over.
It's not.
It's done, and I won it.
No, you didn't. Well, you do have a really good team, though. Let's say that. Well, I mean, as far as stuff going on, trying to think what we published this week as far as interviews go. Gosh darn it. Oh, if you're into ROH and stuff like that, we got a lot of good content coming with ROH. We do have an interview. I think it's Brian Johnson. I want to say his name is. Dude, it's
the lead singer of AC/DC. Dominic?
That's what I thought too. I think there's a wrestler named Brian Johnson too. But we have an interview with him up. Colin Tessier, the prodigy of WrestleZone.com. He's he covers all our ROH stuff. That's actually, Marcus, fun fact. That's how I got to start on WrestleZone, is I covered ROH, the television product. Yes, so that's available. Plus more to come. He also interviewed Hot Sauce Tracy Williams from ROH. And then Marcus, you'll like this. I'm hoping I can say this. Maybe I should wait to say that one. We got a well-known tag team coming up that we interviewed. Our editor, Bill Pritchard, interview. I don't want to ruin that. So I'll
Briscoes.
Huh?
The Briscoes.
The Briscoe brothers. No, they're not ROH. It's not ROH. It's a different tag team. I just want to try. Okay, so yeah, Hot Sauce Tracy Williams. Oh, yeah, check this out. So our editor, Bill Pritchard, does Best for Business is still being released. This is the thing I like about what we do at WrestleZone is like, everybody has their year-end stuff and stuff. We extend it out So like we're still doing Best of the Business 2020. So Bill interviewed Denise. Man, I've never said her last name actually. Salcedo. Denise Salcedo, and she's all over the place. She is on Fightful. She's on the Wrestling Observer. She does her own thing too. She is a versatile lady in pro wrestling journalism and does plenty of interviews. Does great work. Works her butt off. Bill interviewed her, and so be on the lookout for that. Okay, yes, Marcus, I was right. Brian Johnson from ROH. That's who Colin interviewed. So look on that. I happened to interview Moonshine Mantell, arguably the best name in wrestling, I would say, from the Texas area. He's going to be the third episode of Meet the Wrestler, so be on the lookout for that. Also, really great interview I happened to do last year, but it's going to get published next week, is my interview with Heath McCoy, the author of Pain and Passion of Stampede Wrestling, where we talk all about Stampede Wrestling. Awesome conversation we have. We talk about the Hart family, the influence that Canadian Stampede had on the business from all its characters and everything like that. So if you want to learn more about that stuff, give a listen to that coming up next week. And good stuff. So just a lot of good stuff happening at WrestleZone. You can follow me on Twitter at Dominic D'Angelo. You can follow WrestleZone on Twitter at WrestleZone.com. And then also, yes, go to WrestleZone.com for all your wrestling rating needs or news needs. Marcus, how do they follow you on Twitter, huh?
You can follow me on the Twitter at Marcus P. D'Angelo.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, man, I got to say, if you want the most legitimate news source in pro wrestling, you got to look to WrestleZone. There's nobody better.
I tell you what, we do really good work. Bill's done an amazing job with not only cultivating a good, well-rounded staff, but like making sure everything is like up to snuff and like on level with like what you want from a wrestling website. It's been a really heavy focus of us, making sure like there's due diligence, there's everything done properly, and we're just giving you the straightforward facts about stuff. And obviously we'll have our op-ed pieces where we can give our own opinion. This is obviously a, podcast where like, we praise and criticize and just we're forthright as much as we can be with how we feel about the product and certain things like that. So, but yes, WrestleZone's a great site. And like, it's just kind of crazy because, people tell me all the time about it, wow, I can't believe, I'm actually having an interview with WrestleZone. And I'm like, I can't believe I'm writing for them because it's been around for like at least 20 years, I would say. I remember being like at least in high school checking this website. So it's kind of crazy. So
no doubt about it. Yeah, no, it's the number one source for pro wrestling news. And yeah, man, obviously, you and I have a lot of fun on this podcast. We're just yanking chains. I do not hate Luchasaurus. I do not hate Evil Uno. I just like having a good time. We're just having fun. Luchasaurus, if you listen to this, you want to trash me on Twitter, feel free. Marcus P. D'Angelo, throw me a follow while you're hanging out over there. We can talk about your fucking stupid degree. And let's just have a good time. Everybody's just trying to enjoy themselves.
Marcus, if you could get a master's degree in any sort of history, what would it be?
Well, I'd pick something useless if I was going to pick one thing. So it would have to be something that I could never get any sort of gainful employment from.
Dallas Cowboys?
So Dallas Cowboys history, or I would say something like something really specific, like SmackDown versus Raw, Here Comes the Pain, something like that. Very specific. Like I would know about everybody's move sets.
Okay, that would be cool.
Yeah, and say like, hey, look, if you're gonna do the story mode, and here's the route you have to take. If you want things to go this way, if you want them to go this other way, you want to do this during story mode.
We got it set up like maybe we should make this a 2021 goal. Is somehow we set up some Twitch or whatever where we play each other and Here Comes the Pain, No Mercy, something. I don't know how we can do it and how it gets executed.
We're like a couple fucking boomers trying to figure out the Twitch.
I know. I'm surprised like I don't start this thing off on mute and like not know how to work it. I was like that though, starting this off. So
we'll figure it all out, y'all.
Y'all, gangsters.
All right, we need to go now. It's getting late.
It is getting late. Holy shit. Yes, it is. All right, guys. Hey, we'll see you next week. All right.
All right. Thanks for listening, guys. We love you.
Bye-bye.